I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon, and trust and pray you having an awesome Friday. A fantastic Friday, as our good friend Joel Wilson, on that 3 to 6 Super Mix talks about Friday as well. It's going to be an awesome day as we have the wonderful company of Miss Kayla Young, and we get a chance to talk about journalism, and politics, and the media. So please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is brought to you by Fidelity Bank. For all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Also brought to you by greenturtle.ky. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile. Saving lives today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email Talk Today at candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255. Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. And thank you so much for joining us as we invite you to not just listen and share, but contribute in a very meaningful, productive, positive way. Very special good afternoon, and I talk today made voyage welcome to Miss Kayla Young. Miss Kayla, good afternoon. Thank you for accepting the invitation to join us this afternoon.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's an honor, and I must share that hopefully we can continue the tradition Radio Cayman has had over the years and trying to invite as many of our young people, but even those who may consider a career change, to look at the media in a new light and to see the importance of it. And I think having a chance to chat with you, we may be able to just do such a good job that, man, they'll be knocking on the doors at all journalism schools.
I hope so. I think that is, something that we really need to encourage in our young people is, to consider careers in media. I feel like the more voices we have, the more people we have interested, the better we are as a community.
Mm-hmm. Is that, I was thinking about it earlier, and I'll say up front, I want to be guided by you, and there are some things I would like to get to, but primarily to get people to appreciate the importance. Now, we're hearing, because of technology, this term, citizen journalist, and it's, it has its worth and value, and it certainly is important in order to get information out. And then we've seen other people who, for some reason, maybe they have money, have access, maybe they have time on their hands, all of a sudden they're journalists. And I want to be direct and deliberate, but also respectful. As an example, I love to cook. I enjoy being in the kitchen more than I'm in the garden, but I'll never call myself a chef because I did not get formal instruction either through an academic program, coupled with apprenticeship in the kitchen or some sort. So a cook, but never a chef. Are we, as a result now, by assigning the label journalist to almost any and everybody, have we devalued it somewhat? If I may ask, if that's not too direct.
No, I think that's a really interesting and valid question, because we've seen media evolving and changing for years now in ways that have really challenged the way we interact with news, the way that we consume information. And we see that there's a lot of static in the online environment. It can be very difficult to navigate all of the information online, what's reliable, which sources are reliable, and that can have a detrimental effect on public knowledge, public understanding. And, so I think that's something that has been very difficult for us to navigate, right? Is that the internet is such a broad and typically uncensored environment, which, can have a positive democratizing effect in a sense, but it can also be quite negative, right? So I feel that's something that communities maybe need more of, maybe something that could benefit school curriculums is media education. How do we evaluate sources? How do we know if information we're receiving is reliable? How do we research independently in order to understand the type of information we're consuming? So I think that's part of it on one hand. And, I encourage people to participate in conversations and to, I always appreciate when people reach out to me with questions, when they're polite. Sometimes they're not so polite. But, I think you make a good point that not all people working in media necessarily are coming from the perspective of a journalist or have that background. And while certain types of content are valid, I think it's important as consumers to try to make that distinction and understand that, there might be different layers of verification, different ways of processing that goes behind the information you're consuming.
Mm-hmm. So be that very discerning consumer, just like you would if you were purchasing a car or going to a restaurant.
Right, because you think, you use that cooking analogy that, there are times where we might crave fast food, but just something quick that is indulgent, but that's not necessarily good for you as a diet, right? And so, I think sometimes consuming more thoughtful, more reported news can maybe feel like eating your vegetables in contrast to that kind of shocking content of, wow, can you believe what happened over, in Georgetown, or can you look at this wild video? I think that, there's a differentiation between that kind of the value and what that, how healthy it is for consumers.
Have a varied diet, so to speak, then look at multiple, as a consumer, multiple news outlets in order to see the same thing from a different perspective. Could I ask then, I know, again, I guess age, hopefully, with age comes wisdom and experience, right? You'll get there one day. You're Kayla Young.
Yeah, I know. By the time I come out of, or can we come out of all of this, I will feel quite a bit older, I think.
My prayer is we'll just get wiser and never age.
Yes.
Having friends and family who live in almost all corners of the globe, and they'll tell you, well, in my homeland or whatever, this particular newspaper, just for an argument's sake, or this news channel, they have this tendency, this leaning. And so sometimes maybe as an international consumer, you don't know that if you want it this way, this is where you get it. Is that one of the challenges then, that, like, I can think of some in Florida where if you read the St. Pete Times versus the Tampa Tribune, for instance, just, became a destination, you at one point would know the take that you would get on the particular viewpoint. Is that one of the challenges then? That media has its own. Talk to me.
I think so. I mean, I think that with the internet, of course, we have our target audience, right, that we're publishing on our website for people who are part of Cayman's community, interested in Cayman. But anyone, anywhere in the world can access what's going online. So in a broader sense, your audience is potentially global. You have people that have varying levels of understanding of the market, the place that they're reading about. Mm-hmm. And it can be interesting to observe sometimes the things that, when stories do get picked up about Cayman in international press, you might notice little details in the way it's reported internationally where you think, oh, well, I would have said this a little different, or maybe you should have called this person instead. And so it can make it difficult. I mean, and also when, we're reading news about other places, sometimes if I'm reading about an issue I don't know a lot about, sometimes I'll pause and think, okay, what's the source of this outlet? What's their style? What's their angle? And that can be difficult to evaluate. I just think also Caribbean media, it can be, I think, very difficult maybe for international audiences to know who to follow and how to tap into that conversation in a more substantial way.
All right. Okay, well, we got a quick short break to take. Those are one of the things I got to try to be mindful of as well. But we're going to come back, let's talk about that, because I think that we're, especially now where we saw certain things and, becoming familiar with certain faces and even, terminologies, that it's so important to have accurate, timely information disseminated in a way that's accessible, is credible, but is also able to be, challenged when necessary without any sort of fear of reprisal and the like. Maybe we can talk to some of those things locally and internationally, and guided by by your insight. So to our listeners, Ms. Kayla Young, a journalist, who is going to be continue with us, and we invite you to call and share and recognize the importance of the fourth estate. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Green Turtle, modern solutions to get you through the new normal. Download the Green Turtle app now and top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination. Home delivery of laptops, tablets, phones, accessories, and iTunes and major online retailer gift cards. And now, home deliveries of groceries and courier service. Guaranteed delivery within 2 hours from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Visit their list of products at greenturtle.ky or download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile, saving lives today.
Honey, our fridge has stopped working again. Everything in the freezer is melting. We need to get this repaired right away. I'm calling Brand Source Service.
When you need the very best appliance service, call Brand Source Service at 623-5000. Offering service and installation of all brands and models of appliances. Brand Source Service is Cayman's source for appliance parts and repairs, with qualified and experienced technicians and the island's largest stock of appliance parts. Brand Source Service will have your repair completed in a flash. So, whatever the problem is, call the experts at 623-5000. Brand Source Service, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Telephone 623-5000.
Help support survivors of domestic violence by believing them. Being there for them is one of the best things that you can do. Listen and hear what they need. Let them tell their story in their own way. When supporting persons experiencing domestic violence, maintain confidentiality. They have trusted you enough to share their story. Don't share it with others. If children are involved, alert the multi-agency safeguarding hub. Being there for survivors also means staying in touch. Create a code word or emoji, so if you receive or hear that from them, you will call 911. To help them, it's vital to talk to survivors about their options and help them to evaluate each one. And finally, remember that you cannot rescue survivors of domestic violence, but you can support them on their own terms. For additional support, please contact the Emergency Services, the Cayman Islands Crisis Center, the Family Resource Center, the Legal Befrienders Clinic, the Needs Assessment Unit in Grand Cayman or Cayman Brac, the Mental Health Helpline, the Kids Helpline, or the Department of Community Rehabilitation.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us, and really is a pleasure for Ms. Kayla Young, to accept the invitation to join us this afternoon, taking some time out of her extremely busy day as we talk about the media, politics and journalism. Ms. Kayla, from that perspective, though, when we look at the landscape as it has changed, and we probably, recognize that the importance of the media and asking questions, not just of government officials, but even investigating things that may be happening within the business community. Just talking locally, regional, globally, just generally speaking. That notion of it being the fourth estate, is it akin to an extent that in times of war, you would see the Red Cross and some organizations going in and they were off limits? Nobody did anything to endanger the lives of those people because they were providing an invaluable service. Likewise, with the media, there was this access, this sense of safety and security, objectivity and impartiality that we had. Has that now perhaps been out the window because of the standards by which maybe the media is being judged these days?
Question. And, I think our relationship with the media has evolved in many ways in recent years, and I think in ways that have changed the way we interact with media, the way we scrutinize media. And I guess I want to make a distinction between criticism and attacks. Criticism is valid, it's necessary, and, if someone reads an article I've written or a video that I've worked on and there's something that maybe they disagree with or something that they feel like I've overlooked, or, hey, maybe you didn't know about this, I appreciate that kind of feedback. It's necessary. And so I don't want to treat the media as some kind of untouchable entity. All institutions need and I think benefit from outside analysis and feedback. But we also see, and I think this is very much coming from the environment we see in the States, and also, I would say there in particular that the relationship with the media at times has become much more hostile and antagonistic.
Yeah.
And we see, that at times that antagonism has put journalists in physical danger. And, I think in contrast here in Cayman, I feel safe. I don't feel, there are times where it's maybe difficult to get certain types of information we're trying to access. There are frustrations. There are people who are maybe not necessarily friendly, but I don't sense that there are people who hate me or maybe have that kind of vitriolic attitude towards media that we're seeing more and more in the U.S. And that's and of course, the U.S. is such a big influence that has an effect elsewhere, and I think it can justify distrust and anti-media rhetoric in other places, and so that is a concerning and dangerous trend. And I think it's important to highlight that we've seen a lot of local newspapers, a lot of local media outlets all over struggle, and we've seen communities in the U.S. that have really completely lost a local news source. And that's something that does have a detrimental effect on those communities. That whether you like your local newspaper or not, I think all communities need them, as you say, that fourth estate. We see communities without newspapers suffering from undetected cases of corruption, from lower voter turnout or engagement. And so I think, it's important that we take note of that and really ask ourselves, okay, long term, how do we encourage a healthy media environment that fosters productive community dialogue?
So I want to ask more about that sort of critique and analysis and the whole critical thinking aspect of things. But first, the protection that some of us may believe exists. Let's say in the U.S., for instance, we watch the U.S. television. Maybe there's a movie that we like. Maybe we watched that one with Robert Redford, in the early 70s, portraying Woodward Bernstein as they go into. Maybe even there was a new one recently with a famous actor lady. But is there a level of protection, legal protection, through the courts and our laws and the like that we think exists that doesn't exist? So if you're a media and you're a source, as portrayed in the television.
And of course it depends on where you live and what your local laws are. And I'm originally from the U.S. and I started when I was earlier on in my career, I worked in the U.S. and I felt an immediate kind of culture shock stepping into media in Cayman, that maybe some of the things that I assumed were available to me as a journalist in the U.S. Wasn't so certain coming here. And first it was much slower and more difficult to access certain types of public information. And, I think something notable, I guess something that's, an obvious difference is that the court reporting was much more cautious. That, and I think in a sense, there were positive and negative parts of that. There was just a lot more things that you couldn't say until it reaches a certain point in the case, or that might not be made public until later on. And so I felt more of that fear, and I think I still feel it every time I cover court, where I feel like, oh my gosh, I don't want to accidentally be in contempt of court somehow, or mess up reporting on an important legal issue and feel the consequences of that. And of course, it's something that makes you more careful, maybe more thoughtful about what you say. But I think that I guess I've encountered more often here that maybe making information requests, it might, the information that I ultimately receive might be less robust, it seems like it would be more likely to be deemed exempt, or, and so that's something that it just has been interesting, and I continue to mull over. Is just do we need to push that topic further of access to information, and maybe be a little more try to shake it up a little more, because sometimes when there's a lot of rules, you end up maybe self-censoring, before the topic ever comes up, and that can be negative.
There's something that I wanted to maybe ask, and Susan just reminds me, we got to break again, so we're going to do that, but maybe I can pose this question. Institutions, in particular, say the courts, the legislative bodies and the like, and maybe even some parts of the executive and government, are institutions that are seemingly trying to position themselves, or have they become positioned where they're now presumably off limits when it comes to reporting and investigating and even accessing. We go into legislative assembly, there may be laws that govern disclosure information, maybe the expected behavior, how you even physically get into the space, the level of, for want of a better word, security measures that you go through could present as intimidating. Are we at risk then that some institutions, and I use those three as an example, presenting a scenario where they're reporting, timely, accurate reporting of what transpires in those places could be at risk? If that's a question, maybe we can put on the table, see where we go when we come back and mull it over. For those who are listening, very grateful. Ms. Kayla Young joins us. We're talking about the media, politics, and journalism. The phone lines are open if you want to ask a question. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Fidelity Bank would like to thank all essential workers. We salute your efforts and thank you for the sacrifices you've made to keep us all safe. During these challenging times we're facing, our top priority is the health and safety of the communities we serve. And while it's true that things are changing rapidly every day, one thing that will never change is our commitment to giving you the best in sound financial solutions to help you during and after the coronavirus pandemic. At Fidelity Bank, our focus will always be you. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Mommy, have you been taking your medication? No, I think I forgot to pick it up. Your doctor prescribed it for a reason, so you should be taking it regularly. I know, Chidi. Thanks for the reminder.
If you are elderly or vulnerable and need your prescription delivered to your home, contact the Health Services Authority Pharmacy at 949-8600. Taking your medication when prescribed is important to your health, and your health matters to us. For more information about our pharmacy hours and locations, visit hsa.ky. or call 949-8600.
89.9 Radio Cayman helps you to weather the storm during this hurricane season.
One of the most crucial elements of hurricane preparedness is storm awareness. During the season, it is of utmost importance to pay attention to the latest local weather forecast, as hurricanes do not suddenly form or strike. There are various methods of advanced notification. Utilizing such may be the difference between a favorable outcome and disaster. Both television and radio serve as excellent mediums with up-to-the-minute storm path information in the wake of a hurricane. Another method of tracking a hurricane may be only arm's length away. Your smartphone or tablet can be your most valuable tool before, during, and after a storm, providing countless numbers of apps with crucial hurricane information. Many apps allow you to track storms with moving radar and satellite imagery, plus offer alerts, current conditions, forecasts, advisories, and even video.
This hurricane preparedness tip was brought to you by your community radio station, Radio Cayman 89.9 FM.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. Excellent opportunity to continue focusing on the idea of inviting more of us to be a part of the media, to become trained, accomplished, experienced, exceptional journalists. And with that in mind, we have a great example to offer to you in the form of Ms. Kayla Young. So thank you very much for sharing with us. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. That question that I sort of left on the table prior to the break. It's not, it's not intended to put anybody in a particular position, but I often wonder sometimes where some of us, because of our title, maybe where we are, maybe just the experiences we've had, but we may project or believe we've earned some right that we're not to be questioned anymore, and not just the political realm, but all across. And then the minute someone says anything, I think, as an example, I think to the student in the class where the particular lecture or lesson is about something, and the student says, "Well, what about this?" He's the precocious student, the one who is just slightly more engaged. And then the teacher, like the parent, sometimes will respond, "Well, don't question me. I'm the adult. I'm the authority."
Yeah.
So that's my premise.
Yeah. No. It brings up an interesting point about just broadly our ability to engage in productive debate. That maybe at times when there's pushback or dissent, it might be misinterpreted as hostile. When perhaps the questions are valid, are trying to open up the conversation in a meaningful way. And so I think it's important, also in ourselves when we receive criticism on a topic, to step back and ask, why did I have that gut reaction of pushing back on this, feeling insulted by this question? What's the deeper issue here? And working in Cayman and as a journalist, I do. There is this response you'll get from time to time where maybe you ask a question or push on a topic, perhaps of government or an institution, and the response is that maybe it's perceived as anti-Cayman or anti-community in some way, and it's something I try to be cognizant about, but I also think, well, if we love our community and we care about our community and we want to make it better, then we have to be comfortable with asking questions of people in charge and asking questions that the people in charge might not appreciate. And that isn't something that is hostile to them necessarily. It's something that's necessary in the process to make it better and to help us grow. And so I found, with, in recent months we've had a lot of press conferences, and of course at a certain point, the COVID press conferences, I think, were everyone's must-watch show, waiting for your daily update of, what the heck's going on today. And I think for the most part, those press conferences remained pretty friendly, especially compared to how we see the media relationship with government in the U.S. But there were certainly times where maybe people in the comment section didn't appreciate certain questions, or there was resistance to certain questions, and I think that that's something we need to push back on. That we don't have to like all the questions, but we need to ask ourselves, okay, are these conversations we need to be having?
Yeah, yeah. And I'm glad you raised that because especially at the press briefings generally, just in all of the jurisdictions that have deliberately, in an attempt for my own edification, in an attempt to look at it from the perspective of how do I critically consume this and how do I assess what's going on. And then I said it with some friends that in some jurisdictions it became propaganda, others it became a show for political ratings and the like, and some of it was just positioning, right? Some was very factual. Hey, this is what happened. This is what's happening, and so on. I reflect on some comments out of the UK, and I apologize. I forget the names of some of the professors who were being interviewed and who shared comments, but just generally speaking, from what I recall, she was expressing, this one particular professor was expressing the concern that the press briefings of the nature were becoming difficult as journalists to be able to ask questions of the authorities, whether they were the medical, the political, because now you were physically absent from their room and you couldn't do like how you would normally. And naturally, being concerned that you can't engage to that extent. And then equally, because sometimes it got technical into the sciences, if the particular journalist present wasn't as comfortable with the terminology, as knowledgeable about what was transpiring then and there, it made it difficult to follow up. You go back and you come back later to say, okay, by the way, last week you said this, but now we had a chance to think of it. Challenges, you think, that makes it difficult as well?
Yeah, I think reporting on this COVID-19 crisis has posed a lot of challenges to journalists across the board. And part of that is the nature of breaking news. And this has basically been an ongoing breaking news event for months. And, we're just constantly hearing new things, learning new things, backtracking on things, questioning. And so, it's the nature of breaking news that certain things that are reported in the beginning might turn out not to be so true later on. And that's part of, unfortunately, and we see this with all types of breaking news. If there is a shooting, or there's, we've had plenty of examples of, the landfill fires, the earthquake this year. We really had just one kind of breaking news event after another. And so as a journalist, you're trying to prioritize, okay, what kind of information does the public need right now to be safe? But what also do they need me to look into longer term about this issue? And sorry, what was that?
No, sorry. I was just going to respectfully ask for just a quick interjection so we can join this other caller who's online. And then we'll return. Okay. We're speaking to Ms. Kayla Young. Let's go to the phone. So good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for calling.
Good afternoon, Sterling Dwayne.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you today?
Yes, fine. Good afternoon to the young lady there. She's from the campus, is she?
Yes, sir, but don't hold that against her, okay? Let's just kidding. She is.
No, I just asked. I recognize the voice. You can always hide your face. You can't hide your voice. Yes, wonderful to hear there. With journalism, particularly with the television media, the printed media is not so much biased in any one way politically or so, but the media, like you're speaking about United States and all that, those news anchors earn tremendous salaries. I mean, many, many times the salary of the president or the Senate or anything in the United States. They're highly paid. They're mostly it's evident to anyone. They're actors acting And they have a huge staff that tells them how to appear, the type of facial expression when they're doing certain things and what news to pick and so forth and all that. So it's really just a big show for a long time now. And they get more and more adept at it. And that's what attracts people to it. And people get involved when they have their favorite news anchor. You have this fellow Tapper or somebody. There's one fellow that looks like one of the poor Jews coming out of a concentration camp, and he makes lots of money and so forth. You know, it's sometimes to me it's laughable when I think of people, the impression they get as I say these people are perfect answer to everything and so forth, and they're merely acting out parts, and it's mostly very, very ultra liberal now, the press, the media in the United States, and it makes a lot of money, the television thing and all that. So it's mostly concentrated on that, and they will focus on issues, and it becomes big, big things worldwide and so forth. And you recently noticed was the incident there where the fellow was
from district to
district, police and all that. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. That's one. And it blew up into a big thing and a big major thing when you stop to realize that 95% of all, and more than that, of all black people killed in the United States are killed by fellow black people. But their lives didn't matter then. But that doesn't make news until one is killed by a white policeman. And this is big fodder. I'm not saying it was right at all. What I'm trying to show you is this is how the news operates now. What can make big headlines, big money for television and across the world. And we didn't stop to think about that. In fact, it doesn't matter. It didn't matter before, but now it matters. And the same thing in Africa. Thousands of children are chopped up and thrown in rivers and all that by their own black leaders and black militia and so forth, and the Boko Haram and all this. But that doesn't make big news worldwide, and this is much more effective, this one incident, and it causes much more because the U.S. is much freer in its selection of putting whatever is on TV. Many countries, including huge Russia, China, and so forth, are very repressive, and North Korea, and they only allow people to see what they want them to see and what they want them to hear, or you're thrown in jail or so forth. But we never talk about these things. We don't want to offend them, you know.
Yeah. Well, I certainly, this is where I think these discussions, respectful to both of you, as I'm following a thought of, being mindful of our breaks. Respectful, let's pause to do the news, but when we come back, is that one of the challenges that even in the US that we're looking at? Maybe the freedoms that they enjoyed not as what it once were. Maybe communist countries enjoy more freedom now with respect to what's happening globally with this pandemic. All right, let's pause, take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio K-Man.
It's only two species that we have here on the island.
Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio K-Man's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. Civil servants who wish to support the CIG Cares Community Support Program are now able to do so using a simple online form. The CIG Cares Community Support Program provides civil servants with a way to donate a portion of their salary each month to help most vulnerable families and seniors who are clients of the Needs Assessment Unit. You can find more information on the CIG Cares program and the donation form at exploregov.ky/community-COVID-19 or on the hub. In international news, the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled about half of Oklahoma belongs to Native Americans in a landmark case. The justices decided that an eastern chunk of the state, including its second biggest city, Tulsa, should be recognized as part of a reservation. Democratic presidential contender Joe Biden has laid out his rescue plan for the coronavirus-crippled U.S. economy. Mr. Biden said his $700 billion plan would be the biggest investment in the U.S. economy since World War II. The Build Back Better agenda, he said, would spur a manufacturing and technology jobs boom. Glee star Naya Rivera is believed to have drowned in a tragic accident while boating with her young son on a lake in California, police say. The 33-year-old was reported missing on Wednesday afternoon when her boat was seen drifting at Lake Peru, northwest of Los Angeles. Her son was found asleep on board. He told police they went swimming, but his mother never returned. Those are your latest headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Your voice, your choice, your radio.
Green Turtle, modern solutions to get you through the new normal. Download the Green Turtle app now and top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination. Home delivery of laptops, tablets, phones, accessories, and iTunes and major online retailer gift cards. And now, home deliveries of groceries and courier service. Guaranteed delivery within 2 hours from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Visit their list of products at greenturtle.ky or download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app, the future of mobile, saving lives today. The Toyotathon 2020 event is going on now at Vamped Motors. Get our lowest prices of the year on a great selection of our most popular Toyotas with big savings on the new CHR Hybrid, the 7-seater Rush, the adventurous RAV4, the rugged Hilux truck, and more. You can drive home an amazing deal. Save up to $5,000. Take the full discount, get cash back, upgrade your vehicle with your savings. It's all your choice during our huge Toyotathon sales event going on through July. Don't miss out. Come to Vamped Motors for your new Toyota. Let's go places.
Dear parents and guardians, we deeply care about our students and understand the challenges you may now face during these unprecedented times.
We want you to know that we are committed to ensuring that your child's education continues.
And that you are not alone. We are doing everything we can to make sure no child is left behind.
But to do so, we need your help to get connected and stay connected with you and your child. So, reach out to us and speak with us
about how we can best support you and your needs. Working hand in hand with you is the only way to secure our children's future. We are in this together.
A message from the CIFEC, Clifton Hunter, John Gray, Lehman E. Scott High Schools, and the Lighthouse School.
Water Authority Cayman wishes to advise its valued customers of planned works to upgrade the water supply infrastructure along Elgin Avenue on Sunday, 12th July between 4 a.m. and 12 noon. Customers along Elgin Avenue between Cricket Square and the Hospital Road intersection and portions of Claude Hill Road will experience water service outage. One lane of Hospital Road will be closed to facilitate the works. Southbound traffic from Elgin Avenue to Hospital Road will be permitted. Motorists needing to travel to Elgin Avenue through Hospital Road from the Walkers Road Smith Road intersection can use an alternative route by driving along Smith Road and turning onto Claude Hill Road. The Water Authority appreciates the patience and understanding of its customers and the public as it undertakes these works and apologizes for any inconvenience this may cause.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thank you very much for joining us. And it's a very, distinct privilege and pleasure to have the excellent company of journalist Ms. Kayla Young joining us. Thank you very, very much. And radio, to me, it's been my favorite, but I love to read. So when people like yourselves write such a wonderful prose, it makes it enjoyable as well. As we continue our conversation, Ms. Kayla, I'm told we have another caller online. So, respectfully, let's go to the phones and thank that last caller equally for his contribution. But good afternoon. How are you today?
Well, it's raining, so that's good.
I was enjoying the rain,
It was raining, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting conversation that you got going on there today.
Thank you.
The last caller mentioned one word, I guess it's a verb or adverb, bias in his narrative.
Mm.
And I think that is one of the most, or that is the biggest enemy of any journalist. Because if you can't ask a question without bias, and I know, knowing that there's very few of us without any biases, but I think if you're properly trained, you can put your biases aside, basically, mostly, and ask a question straight down between the lines.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look, especially a lot of what is going on cable news, I mean, some of those folks make their biases show through in such a significant manner that it cancels any kind of reliability or that they should have.
Yeah.
So I mean, and I know I think it goes back to the training. I would say up until the last 35, 40 years maybe, that you have people within the colleges, within the educational system all over, teaching journalism who probably have never been out on the beach, who never had to face any kind of adversity in asking a question or knowing how to ask a question. And yet they're teaching journalism classes.
Yeah.
So they can't relate any of these intricacies to the people who they're teaching. So they come out of college with what I don't want to call it inferior, but what is not as full of experience of journalistic training as they should have to really be an effective journalist.
I think you touched on a number of interesting points there. I have been a journalist for, I guess, about a decade now, and the training is constant, and I think that should be the mentality of reporters, that we're constantly learning. You're never done challenging your biases. You're never done polishing your skill set, and that media is something that grows and changes. And you touch on the topic of bias, and of course, to be a good journalist, you need to be cognizant of your own biases, and as you said, try to put them to the side, and be aware of how those biases that we all have might color the way that you look at a topic, the types of people you might approach, the way that you frame a story. So I think it's on journalists to have those conversations, to reflect on themselves. And you also brought up the issue of U.S. cable news, and I'm not a fan of cable news. I think they get into a lot of that back and forth punditry that gets ratings, and so I would just challenge people to branch out beyond cable news sources, to also look to local media that might have a different perspective, look to different sources of well-researched, more thoughtful types of media. I'd like to see us get away from that kind of polarizing type of angry cable news debate type of reporting, which really isn't reporting at all, but it's really dirtied the public discourse in many ways.
The sort of respect and credibility that we have for the objectivity.
Yeah, but you see, I think a big player in this whole thing is what you call the social media networks. I mean, you've got people on social media, news outlets, they call themselves or whatever, that, there's so much, their biases come through so evidently, so that, like I say, they lose all the credibility that they got. And another important factor, I think, is if you're going to ask somebody a question, is knowing that person. When I say knowing, I mean having some idea of what their thinking is outside of the lines, and be able to frame your question so that you can hopefully keep them inside the lines to answer the question. It's a famous interaction went on back in the early 60s, and if I could, was right after President Kennedy got inaugurated, and Walter Cronkite set up an interview with him to be done. Well, he took all of his paraphernalia or whatever he had to do the interview with it to the White House. And when the interview, and they gave him a room, and the president was going to come out and talk with Walter Cronkite. And before the president came out, one of his aides, I guess it was his press secretary probably, came out and said to Cronkite, well, this subject is off the table. And Cronkite said, well, if that subject is off the table, I'm out the door. The press secretary went back inside or wherever the president was and told him, he said, if that's off the table, then there's no interview. Well, long story is, they had a very productive, I guess, from both sides interview.
Yeah.
But and there are going to be challenges for any journalist if you're really seeking news and trying to make sure that the community is well informed in what is going on around them.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's some of the preparation that journalists need to have, and they need to be cognizant of all their waking moments.
Right. Thank you for sharing that, sir. And Ms. Keller, with that, then, in this arena where you're in, reporting breaking news, but also trying to make sure the information is accurate. We see a lot of times misinformation or disinformation or deliberate attempts to control the narrative, as I've heard it. And what was it that we've come recently? Alternate truths. Oh.
Yes.
Help me to understand that.
It can be disorienting at times, and to navigate that world, and also the different terms we come up with to describe misinformation or just lies. I think alternate truth is a very Orwellian way to describe a lie, right? There's a number of factors this year that have just really made it difficult for journalists and the general public to navigate the information that's out there. I mean, we have this this global pandemic, something that no living person has memory of living through. And in this world that's very connected, information travels very quickly, and there's this, urgency when we're in a crisis to, I want the information now, I want to understand now. It's comforting to feel like you have that information that empowers you. But there are moments in crises when, honestly, the most accurate information is not available in that moment. It's not decipherable in that moment. It might take more time. But something that I think has been very difficult to navigate with the COVID-19 crisis is that it's been very ripe for conspiracy theories, for speculation on one end. And then we also have, we've also observed many governments around the world manipulating data in different ways, perhaps to fit the narrative that they would like to promote, which is also incredibly detrimental. So we have this environment where there's mistrust. People might not necessarily feel confidence in official sources or in media, and I think that's made this crisis very difficult to respond to.
Well, I think also, if I'm still here.
Yeah, you are, sorry.
Yeah, I think also there's another aspect, and that is the commercial aspect of it. Everybody wants to be first. And you see some of the stuff, breaking news. Well, breaking news, and nobody wants to hear what the breaking news is that they come on with. So it's and that is one of the driving forces, I think, behind that you see the decay, the decline in real journalism is the commercial aspect of it. Somebody, I think, mentioned earlier in the conversation going on there about the salaries of some of these anchors, and so it's a whole big podge out there. But I think if you're going to be a journalist, you gotta keep it between the lines, and kind of if you're going to be working on a story, put your biases in your back pocket as best you can, or in your pocketbook, or your handbag, or whatever it is there.
Or leave for the opinion piece.
And just go on, and be brave, and
Well, and
right.
Thank you much. The caller earlier touched on, I guess, with the topic of major network journalists who earn quite a bit. First off, I don't think any of the journalists working in Cayman are making that kind of bank. But, it is important to draw the distinction between infotainment and journalism, that there are different types of personalities in news. There are those who enjoy being the face of the topic, and there are those who are focused on just bringing you the information, who don't care whether or not you recognize that they did the reporting. They're more concerned with getting the information to the public. So I think we have to treat those kind of big media personality types with a grain of salt, to be aware that, okay, maybe they're putting on a different type of show than just purely journalism.
It's not wonderful. I really appreciate that last caller's excellent points. And maybe if I could ask and pick up on one of the things he said last, this notion that sometimes we're not, as consumers, whether we're looking after what's happening in the supermarkets or the financial institutions, when we're negotiating mortgages or we're buying or produce. When it comes to reporting of news and investigating the news, are we willing to critically, look at constructively, look at what the official sources are saying. For instance, in this whole thing that we're experiencing now, we saw what is presumably the World Health Organization making a comment. Let's just use mask early on. No mask are not good. No mask are the godsend. They're constantly sort of stepping back on the information, and when we think again, well, Ms. Gill, I mean, do we now look at that and become distrustful, or we become more deliberate in pressing for information? If we think, for instance, that there is this almost unified voice coming from all governments, whether they're communist, socialist, or most capitalist, in terms of how they present the information, what they're saying, not necessarily how they're assessing and reporting the tests and the like, but it's almost the same terminology as if this is a coordinated effort. Could that be part of the reason?
Well, I would say that first, I think it's important to keep in mind that this crisis is still evolving and it's not over yet. And so naturally, our knowledge and understanding of certain aspects of it will and should evolve, because we know that, researchers, doctors, they're still getting a grasp on what all of this means, how this disease operates, how it spreads. So on the one hand, I think that we have to anticipate that recommendations may evolve. But on the other hand, I think that there, of course, have been official bodies that haven't done any favors in terms of building public confidence, and that it makes it difficult to provide the best messaging when it's changing. We don't necessarily agree, and in a certain sense, none of us know what to expect or what's really going on. We try our best to read and to understand, but there is a lot of conflicting information out there.
So, with that in mind, then, if we were to deliberate for our own edification, or whether we want to inform the policy that we're being charged with trying to either A, formulate, or B, implement, or even if we're journalists trying to report accurately as possible, is it then that those sort of outlets, those journalists who question certain things, who critique it in a certain way, and I'm thinking more of sort of written reports, I suppose. I prefer to read and watch something, right? So if you're reading this very long, involved article that references, different things, over the last few months, studies and the like, is it that we are at risk that if we were to see that there's somebody going, say, oh, look, conspiracy theorists, see, when it's only an attempt to critically assess something,
Yeah. Oh, sorry, you cut out a bit there. But no, I think that brings up a valid point. I think especially when we're in an environment where people are afraid, there is more pushback on maybe questioning certain messages, because there's that fear of if we don't comply, this is going to get much worse. And something that we're trying to avoid. And so, of course, there are different levels of questioning. There are conspiracy theories that are just straight up conspiracy theories. That when you look into it, it's difficult to find any kind of real evidence. And I'm the type of person that I'd like to see some kind of evidence behind the theories I promote, and also to be clear about who's providing this type of recommendation. That, make it clear to people that I, as a journalist, am not making these recommendations up. This is what the public health authority believes, to the best of their knowledge, is the best advice. But there are conversations that, of course, need to be had, and the hope is that that we have those conversations in a productive way. I think something that's difficult right now is that these conversations have become quite divisive and polarized, and so that makes it really difficult to have an open and good faith debate with someone about some of these unknowns.
Yeah. Well, Ms. Kayla, it was a distinct pleasure to have you. Thank you for accepting the invitation. Maybe if it wasn't too bad, maybe in the future we can extend it and invite a few more of your colleagues across the different outlets to join us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on, and I hope that we can have more of these conversations about journalism in the future. I know that some of the other Compass staff would likely be interested in opening the dialogue as well.
All right. Well, we'll reach across the divide and see if we can bring more in. Hopefully, recognize that within our community there's so many career opportunities, and the skill sets that you have, whether you're trained as an attorney or whether you decided that you like history, they can be parlayed into a very successful career as a prominent journalist. So thanks for being that example, and keeping the bar high.
Thank you.
Right. Enjoy your weekend. All right,
You
thank
too.
you. Miss Kayla Young, thanks for joining us. Now we're going to pause and take a break. When we come back, we have a discussion schedule with respect to looking at the domestic partnerships bill. We're talking about civics and civics education. If that unfolds, we'll be happy to hear it. But when it does, it'll be open and until. So please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Green Turtle, modern solutions to get you through the new normal. Download the Green Turtle app now and top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination. Home delivery of laptops, tablets, phones, accessories, and iTunes and major online retailer gift cards. And now, home deliveries of groceries and courier service. Guaranteed delivery within 2 hours from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Visit their list of products at greenturtle.ky or download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile, saving lives today. Your Radio Cayman 7 a.m. news, brought to you by Cayman National, proudly serving the Cayman Islands since 1974. Visit www.caymannational.com for up-to-date information for all your financial needs and follow us on social media.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on ensuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
You've spent a lot of time with your kitchen appliances lately. Did you realize just how old or out of date they really are? If you're thinking of upgrading or replacing your old kitchen appliances, there is only one place to go: Brand Source Home Gallery. They're having a 15% off sale on GE appliances this month. That's right, save 15% off on all GE appliances now through the end of July. You will love the savings and the look of your fresh new appliances from Brand Source Home Gallery in Industrial Park on Dorsey Drive. Call 623-5000 for more information.
We are here for you. Whether you are in extreme financial need, have lost your job, have been directly or indirectly affected by the pandemic, we are here. The Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan is here to assist through the Cayman Islands Government Emergency Withdrawal Program. To withdraw, visit chamberpension.ky and complete the online application form by filling in your personal details, the amount you wish to withdraw, and upload a notarized government ID such as your passport or driver's license. For information as it happens, visit chamberpension.ky or follow our social media pages on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Email admin@pensions.ky or call 745-7630. We thank you for your patience as we address the high volume of email and phone queries. The Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. You can count on us.
Dear parents and guardians, we deeply care about our students and understand the challenges you may now face during these unprecedented times.
We want you to know that we are committed to ensuring that your child's education continues.
And that you are not alone. We are doing everything we can to make sure no child is left behind.
But to do so, we need your help to get connected and stay connected with you and your child. So, reach out to us and speak with us
about how we can best support you and your needs. Working hand in hand with you is the only way to secure our children's future. We are in this together.
A message from the CIFEC, Clifton Hunter, John Gray, Lehman E. Scott High Schools, and the Lighthouse School.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. And as we continue our discussion, I invite you to join and share your thoughts with us. Momentarily, we're going to be welcoming one of the representatives from the Christian Association for Civics and Public Education. More than likely, it'll be the great company of Ms. Katina Anglin sharing with us. The phone lines are open. You can call and share your thoughts with us. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Now, we answered a question yesterday that was asked relative to how many of the 19 politicians had been sort of angling to come on the show, and we said not just yet. Now we know that in some of the different constituencies, MLA Saunders in particular has been sharing with his constituents information, excerpts and sort of extracts and repeat of the proposed bill, and it's something I think that we're trying to encourage and to recognize that when we're able to have these conversations about civics and civic education, we can allow people an opportunity to become informed, to become engaged, and more importantly, to use that knowledge and information to bring with them a semblance of insight, so that when they are talking amongst themselves, that they can have a considered perspective. Now, momentarily, we'll have Ms. Katina Anglin join us. Just needs to get the two aluminum cans connected to the piece of cord so that we can have the connection. Remember how we used to have the telephone way back then? Probably not much more different than now. But again, thanks to our journalists who endeavor to use their skill sets, significant training and investment in education to report accurately and timely. And as we had the excellent company of Ms. Kayla Young earlier, another indication that journalists and journalism is not only critically important to a healthy democracy, it's a respectable profession and calling, and it's important for us to be able to, like anything, approach it with a sense of respect and respectability, sense of professionalism and objectivity, a sense of being impartial, unbiased, to ensure that we report accurately. Now, I like when someone voices an opinion. It may not be necessarily considered opinion, it may not be an informed opinion, it may not be a valid opinion, but if it's in a society that you're able to freely do that and not have to suffer at the hands of whether it's the political authority, the military authority, the financial authority, or some other civic authority, then that's a healthy society. And if the person expressing that opinion is also cognizant that there's a respectful, civil, you know, manner in which to, relay that view, even the better, so that we can have people share and comment, critique, analyze, and grow and improve. Now, do we have that in our society? Some of us would quickly say yes, others would question, well, no, not really. Maybe it's incumbent upon us to ensure that when we're talking, writing, or videoing, or somehow expressing ourselves, that we do, so in a manner that gives us a better understanding of where we are. So, very, very shortly, Ms. Katina Anglin will join us, and we will have the excellent company. She is not only a great example of what you can do by the grace of God, she's been a very public champion, for continued education, civic and academic education, continued improvement of our society, and more importantly, a willingness to express our voice so that people feel encouraged, feel nurtured, feel safe. But also, I believe, from my own perspective of listening to her, I feel that there's a civic responsibility to understand what is happening in our society, to maybe, like two other gentlemen who call from time to time, who give us a global perspective to understand things that are happening elsewhere impact us, not just the pressures that are being put on governments to conform with international legislation. But with that in mind, let's join Ms. Katina Anglin. Good afternoon, Ms. Katina. How are you today?
Dean, I am great. How are you today?
I am very blessed, and as the gentleman caller earlier, reminded us that he was enjoying the rain. I thought, man, I'm getting to a point where it's been a long time since Hurricane Ivan that has taken me to enjoy rain again, and I'm almost there, because I love the rain.
I was on the beach yesterday when a downpour of rain came, and it was beautiful. It was a long time since I had been in the sea in the rain. I was getting water in the water, fresh water and salt water. Yeah. So.
There you go. Got a friend who would get out of the water when it rained because he didn't want to get wet. He would go under the grape trees, So. not to be safe because it was lightning. He said, man, he didn't want to get wet, man. So,
yeah.
Water would get cold, huh?
Yeah. Like we were gonna book in a trip to go stingray today, and he said, well, what if it rains? And then you say to them, well, do you mind if you get wet? And you say, yeah. He said, well, you're going on a snorkeling trip, right? And like, yeah. So you do that in the water? Yeah. So what happens if it rains? Nothing. You're still wet. And then it dawns on him like, oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. So anyway.
But that's it, man. And this is where I think the I don't want to say the peculiarities, but the little things that are, very, very special to certain jurisdictions. Not just the phrases, the nods, the body language, the intonations, just the means of communication and conversation. What makes this country so beautiful, The beach on a rainy day, man.
Yeah.
You want to go now?
I had a peculiar conversation with someone the other day too, and he started off by saying, "I know me and you don't see things the same way on this topic, but I just wanted to say," and he went ahead and he said it, and after he said it, I said, "All right, thanks for sharing your view on it," and he said, "That's all you have to say." I said, "Look, brother, that's what makes us human beings, our individualities and everything and so on and so forth. You know what I mean? And we do that even in expressing ourselves, though. We do that even with consideration of how we can affect other people. So sometimes, what we say, but how we say it, and so on and so forth. But
Exactly.
it is the uniqueness of us as an individual, and it's us all individuals. Sam says, I'm marvelously made. Yeah.
I think too that's where we have these discussions, and we are, if well, again, I'm guided so that I not only labor on a false impression of being misinformed, but if we have a society that can very, you know, critically look at things constructively, not to criticize, but to see if we can improve, whether it's legislation. I think that's part of the reason why sometimes legislation is proposed to be amended, not only just implemented. But we look at systems and the way things operate or don't operate as efficiently and as effectively. But even institutions, the way we access the institution, are you going in your Sunday best, or is it okay if you come in a shorts and a t-shirt? Are you expected to take off your hat if you're wearing one, or are you expected to wear a hat? And sometimes, we don't realize how we are hindering and hampering people's freedoms and participation. But I believe sometimes maybe we are conscious of that, so we employ certain mechanisms to keep away, other prying eyes, as it were. So you have to wonder.
Yeah. But even, I guess, that's why it's good for us as a nation to have discussions about things, right? To be sure that we are not infringing on someone else's rights and so on. And I know that today is a continuation on from yesterday's conversation, right? And one of the things that I am concerned about is about the social and cultural rights of senior citizens and persons who are culturally sensitive in this country regarding the same-sex unions, civil partnerships, and so on, and same-sex marriage. So we can kind of pull it into that little box there, And really, truthfully, first and foremost, what I'm trying to force is discussion on this domestic partnership bill that embraces both the general population, the electorate as a specialty, and the legislature, so that we can understand these things. We can understand what the legal system is saying. What are the legislative restrictions, if any? Green, we don't have those, but anyway. The legislative restrictions, if any. What is the role of the citizen in this? How does the electorate affect it? What is the temperature of the electorate concerning this domestic partnership bill? And how much does the electorate know about the domestic partnership bill? Well, until this morning, 6-something this morning, I was speaking with a informed citizen, and I said to her, has your elected representative spoken, told you all, sent us in notification? Has his office contacted you? Has there been any communication that you are aware of this his constituency? And she said nothing. Absolutely nothing. And we're looking at this 16 days away from the closure of the consultation period. And the amount of people in this country who are unaware of this domestic partnership bill, the potential ramifications that it has on so many different platforms, right? One of the things that concerns me, and this is a bill that we're looking at. It's not passed in law. It's going up for debate.
And as a bill, it's being brought by the government, right? Not a private member's bill, or a motion, but this is a bill that the government is proposing to become legislation if it passes.
Right. And they have brought this bill into existence and commissioned its drafting as a result of the same-sex marriage challenge. And the purpose of this bill is to give same-sex partners a legal standing equivalent to a functional marriage, functionally equivalent to marriage. So in other words, It is marriage in all but a name. Okay? Now, I spoke again yesterday with some people about the domestic partnership bill. And they're kind of equating this domestic partnership bill to something to do with domestic violence. And trying to enhance relationships between persons who are in a relationship in the same home, in a sexual relationship in the same home. The people are so uninformed about this bill, but it's out there for public consultation, and there has been not a peep about this bill, right? Now, one of the things that concerns me about this bill, and maybe I have this wrong. I very well could have it wrong, and a good way to find out if I have it wrong is if somebody from the legislature, perhaps even the premier himself, or the deputy governor who has the charge in the bill for appointing the registrar general, maybe he might want to come on and talk about it. Mr. Sam Bulgin is Honorable Sam Bulgin. He is the Attorney General. Maybe he may want to come on and say, well, Katina was right or Katina was wrong. But until then, I am free to share my own opinion, and I'm going to do so openly, freely, and without fear of retribution from any segment of society, regardless of race, color, creed, or religion. One thing that concerns me, one of the things that concerns me about this bill, do you have this bill with you, Dwayne?
I have it in an electronic format. I was trying to print it off, and because I like to reference it. But yeah, I do have bits and pieces of it that I can scroll through and get to you.
Okay, how about we go to page 42 of the bill, and we'll be looking at section 48, right?
Okay. All right, so let's do it this way. We've got a break to take. We've got a call waiting in the wings. Let's take the call. Let's take the break, and then we take the call, and then we go to page 48. Let me see if I can find that. How about that?
Page 42, section 48. Okay.
Section 48. Yeah. All right, when we come back, let's do that. Stay tuned, please.
Excited! King Sports Center is reopening on Saturday, July 4th for bowling and skating, Monday, July 6th for the Powerhouse Gym, and July 19th for sports programs. King Sports Center offers a complete health and recreational environment for the only sports and recreational facility of its kind in the Cayman Islands. A full list of all safety precautions is listed at www.kingsportscenter.com. For more information, call 946-5464. Email kings@candw.ky. King Sports Center, providing you with all your fitness, recreation, and relaxation needs.
Hey, hun, what you doing?
Putting things away in the shed since it's hurricane season. You know, preparing for the better.
Don't you mean preparing for the worst?
No, for the better. Since we have BritK Insurance, we're fully covered against hurricanes. Plus, they have response teams ready to help us file a claim faster. If I were preparing for the worst, I'd watch football all day.
Still don't get it.
Isn't there a match on?
Oh, really?
Let BritK prepare you for the better this hurricane season. Call 949-8699 or visit britk.ky.
Oh gosh.
Don't let the stress of taking care of loved ones get you down.
Home care, now made easier with Cayman Medical Supplies. 100% Caymanian owned. Cayman Medical Supplies now stocks a wide range of home care supplies. Hospital beds, all types of wheelchairs, including beach access wheelchairs, lifts, commodes, shower chairs, walkers, Curad brand orthopedic supplies. Free blood glucose monitors with the purchase of 1 pack of test strips, blue underpads, and a whole lot more.
Need home care convenience? Drop by Cayman Medical Supplies at 93 Smith Road, Windward Center, or call 949-6211. Free delivery.
We know there has been a lot of changes, and Cayman Medical Supplies is here for the community. From gloves and sanitizers to mandatory supplies, including masks. Hours are now Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. till noon. Free delivery island-wide.
Hi, this is Danny Coleman, Director of Hazard Management Cayman Islands. We are now in the hurricane season, and for information on how to prepare and stay safe, please visit our website, www.caymanprepared.ky. Some top tips to bear in mind, given that we are still in the midst of COVID-19. Please make sure you have a mask and sanitizer, you have food supplies that last for 3 to 5 days, a portable radio, personal hygiene and sanitation items, and medical supplies, and any other specific items your family may need during a hurricane. Make sure you know where where you will shelter in the event of a storm. If you have pets, please make sure provisions are in place for them too, as the majority of shelters will not take pets. Please visit our website for more tips and tricks on www.caymanprepared.ky or call us on 945 4624. Stay safe, Cayman.
Stop the spread of coronavirus by washing your hands with soap frequently. If none is available, use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Stay at home whenever you can. Avoid close contact with people outside your household by staying a minimum of 6 feet apart and wear a mask while in public. For more information, go to www.gov.ky/coronavirus.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you for joining us, and equally special thanks to Ms. Katina Anglin for joining us. Now, Ms. Katina, as we continue discussion, let's first go to this caller and invite the discussion. And Nalveen, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for calling.
Good afternoon to you again, Sterling Green.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Just fine, thank you. Didn't get to finish what I was talking about with the journalist lady here. Very interesting, but anyway. Good afternoon to Katina there. It's very interesting always to hear her pressing her point forward for Christian views for our people. I want to say something here. It takes a couple of minutes maybe, but it's essential and very important, I do think. We must remember at all times we are a British Crown colony, British Crown territory, whichever nomenclature you choose to use. It's virtually the same thing. Our passport says this passport is a property of the Crown. The Crown. That's what it says. It doesn't say a government, a country, or anything. It says that. Look at your passport, the new one. Anyway, but we know government land is Crown lands, etc., etc. And Her Majesty has been our Queen, God bless her, and His Excellency the Governor represents her here. The British government, there's nothing about this that's new. That's new. We shouldn't foist that on people. We knew about this coming from a long time ago. They did say so, and we knew it. Our elected representatives have all talked about it, but we stopped pressing them. We, like we normally do with many things, seem to think any important issue will go away. It will gradually go away if we don't face up to it or don't look at it or don't talk about it. This will go away. But that has not happened. The British government press on with their agenda. We're glad. We have to be very glad we're out of the European Union because it might have been imposed on us a long time ago. But this is a reality. They have the option to implement it for us by the new, and we know that, and you know it, and Katina knows it. And they have told us that, so we had to do something. We are not an independent country. We said we didn't. It seems as if the people say they don't want that. And personally, as I said, we don't have the courage, number one, to be independent. We don't have the unity. And we really don't have any, resources, really. We don't manufacture anything. Oh, money comes in from outside, but we're not going to go into that. There's plenty of money here. How it's shared around, don't know. And we see where one big part of our economy has come to a complete standstill. So that's a very worrying situation, but we can get out of that. The reality is that this can be implemented on us. We have to make a decision. We were given the choice, and we said we didn't want, most everybody here knows that marriage, 99% of the people, let's say it, I shouldn't say everybody, I can't speak for everybody, that they want marriage to remain as the Constitution says, between a man and a woman, and respect those rights, and that's how our very Christian values have always taken us onward from time immemorial. But we had the option, we had to find some way of satisfying those citizens or people that might want to have a relationship of the same sex recognized officially.
Amen. So
Yeah,
Mr.
personally,
Mr.
you can recognize it. Otherwise, you could just do the legalistic parts and so forth. But that's my personal view. The thing is, what I'm just going to say, and I'll shut up, is that we can do it by referendum. It'll take a while. It'll take quite a while to get that people gathered up and so forth and take them heat off of our elected representatives and say, well, that decision was made by the general populace. But, that might not suffice the British, because we more than likely can guess the outcome of such a referendum. The British government does not have to recognize that. Understand it. We are a crown colony. They can say, well, I'm sorry, your elected representatives are the political arm which we control, the political arm of government here as a colony or a territory, whichever terminology you choose to use. But they might not want to choose to recognize that. So they may say, okay, no, we're not recognizing the results of this.
Okay, Mr. Hurlston, can I just interject here for just a moment, please, sir?
All right. But we have the news as well, and if it doesn't take your thing, let's go to this, and then when we come back, we can continue. And you, perhaps, Mr. Hurlston, if you're available. If not, so please stay tuned.
Your 2 p.m. headlines brought to you by greenturtle.ky. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app, the future of mobile, saving lives today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio K-Man.
It's only 2 species that we have on the island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio K-Man's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. The 2020 Intertrust Cayman Islands Marathon invites the public to take part in their T-shirt design competition. Paintings, drawings, digital work are all accepted. The deadline for submissions in the T-shirt design competition is Friday, July 31st. Official rules and guidelines can be found at the marathon website, CaymanIslandsMarathon.com/T-shirt design contest. In international news, some parts of England will run out of water within the next 20 years unless urgent action is taken. That's the view of the Public Accounts Committee in a report on the state of water supplies. It's calling on the government to establish a league table for water companies to pressure them into dealing with leaks. The Dutch government says it is taking Russia to the European Court of Human Rights for its role in the downing of Malaysia Airlines flight MH17 in 2014. Foreign Minister Stef Blok says the highest priority is justice for the 298 victims on board the plane shot down over eastern Ukraine. Twitter chief executive Jack Dorsey has become the first investor in a radical plan to give people a basic income regardless of job status. He has donated $3 million to the scheme, which is being piloted by the mayors of 16 U.S. cities. He said it was one tool to close the wealth and income gap. The idea of governments paying a basic income to citizens has gained momentum in response to the threat to jobs from artificial intelligence. Those are your headlines. I'm Felicia.
Green Turtle, modern solutions to get you through the new normal. Download the Green Turtle app now and top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination. Home delivery of laptops, tablets, phones, accessories, and iTunes and major online retailer gift cards. And now, home deliveries of groceries and courier service. Guaranteed delivery within 2 hours from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Visit their list of products at greenturtle.ky or download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app, the future of mobile, saving lives today.
For the latest in news and information,
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Your voice, your choice, your radio.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. And again, special thanks to Ms. Katina Anglin for being our guest this afternoon as part of our civics, education. Now, Ms. Katina, I know prior to the caller and the news, we were talking about it and you asked us to reference section 48. But as you were perhaps wanting to ask a question to the caller, who has now understandably, disconnected. But again, as you were, Ms. Katina.
Well, he is a man, a very knowledgeable man.
Indeed.
He is. But you're always learning, aren't we? As long as you're here on the face of this earth, you have an opportunity to learn. Yes, this is Crown land. But the Legislative Assembly is a devolved assembly from Westminster Parliament. Some of the functions of government lies within our devolved assembly. One of those functions, one of those responsibilities is marriage. England has retained stuff such as national security, the things that you see sit directly under the governor. Westminster Parliament, Miss Theresa May herself said, Westminster Parliament has no business, they're taking no part in making decisions for the overseas territories with regard to internal, with regard to same-sex marriage. They were leaving that to the internal judiciary to sort it out. That has not changed. Marriage is one of the things that we have control of in this electorate, in this democracy. If this had been solely within the ambit of the British authorities, we wouldn't be having this discussion because you would have had same-sex marriage already because it is the British code. We're not denying that, right? Mm-hmm. That is not part of the discussion. Do they want us to have it? Oh, without a doubt. You listen to His Excellency the Governor. His full focus is implementing same-sex marriage, cost it what it will. If it sinks this island, that's okay. We'll sink having had same-sex marriage declared, right? But marriage is in our Constitution and governed by us under Section 14. It's a lex specialis. It is not a right. When you start talking about rights, marriage is a choice. You're choosing who you're getting married to. There is no law that tells you that you have to get married at 18. And if you promise me that you're going to marry me, right, and you don't marry me when I'm 19, who are you going to sue? The government? Because the government violated my right to marriage? No. We have control over the marriage laws. Those are all ours. But he hit the nail so hard on the head when he spoke about the problem that we have. That we took the ostrich position, stuck our head in the sand, and thought it was going to go away. All right? And that's the Christian and the non-Christian alike in this country, because it's not only Christians who do not agree to same-sex marriage. There are non-Christians in this country who don't agree to it either. But we stuck our head in the sand and we thought it was going to go away. We lack courage and we lack unity. Those things, he was straight on target to that, and that's what brought us to today's position. Okay? Now, he spoke about the Queen. The Queen herself, and a wise man told me on the phone just before I called in on the show. He said, well, as far as the Queen is concerned, he said the Queen herself has declared marriage to be a union between one man and one woman. It was also the Queen who signed and assented to our Constitution, Section 14, in there, one man and one woman. So when you want to talk about the powers of the Queen, you would be asking her to disapprove something that she has already approved. She's already approved our Constitution. She's already said it is good. She's already assented to it. And yes, this is Crown land, but there is some powers that have been given to our Assembly. And that's why our Legislative Assembly is taking the bill in to debate the bill, because the power regarding marriage is theirs. And he's absolutely right. It should be taken out of the hand of the legislature and put into the public, because it has such a detriment to Section 14 of the Constitution. Because this one of the things I want to talk about, but I can see I won't have time to deal with it today, and I don't have it in front of me, is the pathway from the Civil Partnership Law, Civil Partnership Act 2004, toward the Same-Sex Marriage Act of 2013. Within 9 years, the UK had went from partnership to same-sex marriage in 9 years. Something that they had managed to identify for centuries before that legally as being available only to one man and one woman was undone by the introduction of the introduction of the Civil Partnership Act 2013, which was marriage in all but a name. Now, this is the same thing of the Domestic Partnership Bill. It is marriage in all but a name. Now, we need to ask ourselves this. If England, some 50 million people, right, with the Church of England sitting inside of it, eventually had to cave into the Same-Sex Marriage Act 2013 within 9 years, what chance do you think we're going to have? And that is a question for us to consider there. Now, also, in addition to this, is a really on the same-sex marriage thing. Remember all that discussion about opening the floodgates, and how the legislature has continued to say we need to hold fast on the floodgates, on the gates lest we get flooding? Well, I want to talk a little bit about where that floodgate potential exists inside of this bill. And it is at page 42, section 48.
Yeah, there's only 50 sections in the bill. Yeah. Saving for certain same-sex marriages, that section?
Now, in that section, it says that nothing in this law, notwithstanding sections 38 and 47, nothing in this law prevents the recognition in the islands of a marriage lawfully entered into and registered in an overseas jurisdiction under the relevant law of that jurisdiction before the commencement by two persons of the same sex if both parties met the requirements to ensure the formal validity of the marriage under the relevant law, which is the law of their land where they are coming from. And at the time of the marriage, each party was domiciled in the islands or had capacity into the marriage under the place of each party's domicile, right? So you're making sure that the formalities, that their marriage was legal where they are coming from before they got here, that we have to recognize it, a same-sex marriage, and we have to recognize it here in this country when they came with it. We have 76 square miles. We have less than 40,000 Caymanian people. The caller just now said that is without a doubt the majority of people in this country. And I acknowledge that it's Christians and non-Christians alike who do not appreciate, who do not want same-sex marriage. But yet we're going to be opening the floodgates on the Section 48, that those who are engaged in a same-sex marriage, registered in a valid same-sex marriage from their point of origin, and then when they arrive here, we have to recognize it. I don't like that. I don't think that's in the best interest of our islands. And I don't think that people should be deceived into believing that this is just a domestic partnership bill. And I hope that Caymanians wake up and start asking their politicians to explain to them really what does Section 48 mean. And then I would like to them also to ask why there are marital references throughout the document. Your dissolution is even dependent on the matrimonial law, the matrimonial causes law, right? It makes references to widow and widower and so on and so forth. I'm not going to sit here about that one. But then we get around to talking about the powers of the court. And let me point out first that all it takes in this domestic partnership bill is in a two-person, as long as they're not within the prohibited degree of affinity or consanguinity. All right, and I always get that word wrong. Pardon me on that. But so there's prohibited degrees which are set out in Schedule 1. So this is stuff like your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your grandparents, your stepson, and so on and so forth, right? But incredibly, Schedule 1, Section 4, subsection 2 says that, subsection 1 says, and doing that from page 46, pardon me. Two persons subsection 1 says 2 persons who are within the prohibited degrees of affinity, but who are not within the prohibited degrees of consanguinity, may apply to the Grand Court for an order under this paragraph. All right? So let's take it kind of as far away as you could take it in this situation. That would be a mother-in-law and a son-in-law, right? Mm-hmm. Who can apply to the court. We see this in subsection 2, that on application under subparagraph 1, the Grand Court may make an order to disapply section 6.1 as it applies to the applicant. So they can apply to have the restriction for the prohibited degrees of domestic partnership removed from them. And let's think about this for a moment, right? The degrees by affinity is really your in-laws, your mother-in-law, your father-in-law, your sister-in-law, brother-in-law, your stepson, your stepdaughter. And keeping in mind at the same time that this bill allows for same sex. So then I'll be looking at stepfather and stepson being a domestic relationship, because you can make an application to the court and the court can decide to hear it and the court can decide to lift it. Where are we going with this bill? What are we looking at? What are we putting in place? What are we even entertaining with this bill? If this is so pure in its existence and that there's nothing so wrong with this bill, why do we see such a degree of and depth of darkness in this when we start talking about persons falling within a prohibited degree in the first place, being able to have those degrees lifted and engage in a domestic partnership, which is equivalent to marriage? And there are people in this country who seem to think that by providing the domestic partnership law, that you will be protecting the concept, the institution of marriage. But nothing could be further from the truth in this, because this has formalities to go through. This is not like a living together agreement which you can do. And Dwayne, we didn't even have to go down the domestic partnership road, because there's a living together agreement. You can print it off online from ukgov.ky. You can print it off, you fill it out, you put in who the house belongs to, how much your shares are, who gets the cat, who gets the dog, so on and so forth. That's the end of it, but it does not involve the law. Why are we seeking to legalize something that could be so detrimental to the structure of the family? And I know that one of the things that people want to come back and tell me is about the definition of family. But family doesn't have sex with family. Not that it hasn't happened, not that sexual abuse hasn't happened in this country. It has. Tragically, it has, and it's still going on, but are we going to legalize it? Because ultimately, that's where we're going. Because if stepfather can marry stepdaughter because he can apply to the court, then why have child sexual abuse laws? Where are we going with that?
All right, Ms. Coutinho, with that, let's just quickly pause to the short break. Respectfully, we do have a caller who's been there for a bit. We're going to invite that caller after the break and maybe continue the discussion. Please stay tuned.
Green Turtle, modern solutions to get you through the new normal. Download the Green Turtle app now and top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination. Home delivery of laptops, tablets, phones, accessories, and iTunes and major online retailer gift cards. And now, home deliveries of groceries and courier service. Guaranteed delivery within 2 hours from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Visit their list of products at greenturtle.ky or download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile, saving lives today.
The Economics and Statistics Office are currently conducting the annual business surveys. The surveys seek to measure the performance of all local industries. Survey forms for this year are mailed or emailed to all entities operating in the Cayman Islands. The business surveys are confidential under the statistics law and are exempt from the Freedom of Information law. Your response matters. Do your part. Fill out and return your survey forms to the Economics and Statistics Office. For assistance in filling out the forms or for more information, visit eso.ky or call 525-8565 or 325-6652.
Healthcare Pharmacy cares about your health. Our Grand Harbor location is open Monday to Saturday, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., and on Sundays from 10 to 6. Our Governor Square Pharmacy on 7 Mile Beach is open from Monday to Saturday, 9 till 6. Ensure you wear a mask when entering and practice safe distancing. To refill or transfer prescriptions, call ahead or visit healthcarepharmacy.ky or WhatsApp on 329-7313.
Now more than ever, we need safe spaces for healing and reflection. Rotary Central supports our National Gallery in its noble efforts to provide access to the arts, an opportunity for all the family to learn history, ignite creativity, experience Caymanian heritage, glimpse the wider dimension of our humanity. Join us at the National Gallery as we reopen to the public Wednesday, July 15th in full compliance with safe distancing and best practice requirements. You will see the Island of Women exhibit featuring 26 local artists exploring invaluable contributions that women have made to the Cayman Islands. You will view the remarkable Bendel Heights Acquisition Showcase. Bendel is our Picasso. You will view Salt Water in Their Veins, a new exhibition that explores Cayman's evolving relationship to the ocean, featuring 45 local artists. Book your visit in advance to avoid waiting for entry. Call 945-8111. Rotary Central and the National Gallery, supporting wellness and healing. Rotary opens opportunities.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thanks for joining us, and thanks to Ms. Katina Anglin for sharing with us. Ms. Katina, we have a caller who's been patiently on the line for a bit to go to the phones. Thank you very much for joining us. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dwayne, and good afternoon to Ms. Katrina.
All right,
Good afternoon,
Katrina.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
I would like publicly to thank Ms. Katrina for the words and everything she said. I think it is a very sensitive bill, and I think I will say something in behalf of the Muslim community in Cayman. We are over 1,000 Muslim, which a lot of them, maybe 100 and something, is Caymanians. And I think we reject such behavior, the same-sex marriage. In our religion, we don't accept, and we will not accept if the whole world come to our countries, origin countries, that will not pass. Such law will never pass in our Muslim country. The issue here in Cayman now, and I live here for many, many years, and it concerns me as a father, as a citizen, as a human being who want to live normal, like any human being God made, want to live normal life, which is God command us to live between a man and a woman. And I think the legislators have a big responsibility now. That is show who is really for this country and who is really is for his own benefit, sitting there in the legislation assembly for his own benefit, for the salary, and he don't care what happened to the people. So I think if the legislators vote against the bill, and England can't force this country. Maybe they can force it in council, but when they see that the legislator and the people demonstrating, standing, I see a Christian demonstration, which I respect that in town, and a big amount of people come out, and I respect that. If you remember Dwayne and your guest, the demonstration happened in front of the court. I think this country is under pressure and attack since that doctor on the college come, and before that and after that, those two women, they brought them from England for a reason. So I think there is a reason for their coming. There is attention to make this country pass this law, and there is now a hotel, 7 Mile Beach, who is fully financed by money by the lesbian and gay community in the United States. And that hotel are going to announce the name soon. I'm not saying the name today, but that hotel is from his website. It's saying is gay and lesbian friendly. 6 of the managers there and one of the owners are gays. And so I think this country is under attack, and people, maybe I don't speak long time, but when I speak, I put facts to the general public, because I know things, too much things a lot of people don't know in this country. And this country needs to stand. Every man, woman need to stand and demonstrate against this uncivilized act, unhuman act. You know, even if you see in the animal kingdom, the dog male don't lay down with the dog male, and the dog female don't lay down with the dog female. And humans is become lower than animals, unfortunately.
All right, man. Well, in the interest of time, thank you for that. Let's continue. We got, 5 minutes or so. Could we, if you wish to respond to that, appreciate again the caller's sentiments. Could we then ask, is it then first the selection of name for this proposed bill? Would it have been better if we call it civil unions as opposed to domestic partnership or something similar, or it doesn't matter?
I think that the government should have just been much more clear with the naming of the bill so that people were aware, because part of consultation is clarity, right? Part of making the law available is so that people can understand it. So, I think they should have started off on the right foot and named it the same-sex union bill or the civil partnership bill, because people are familiar with what a civil partnership is and what it entails, and people would have been a whole lot more focused about the bill, because right now you have people thinking that this bill is somehow or another to help solve violent relationships and to bring some sort of peace and calm within the home in a domestic setting, right? So people are already disillusioned about what this bill is really all about. And, I hope that the word spreads that this domestic partnership bill is really a same-sex union, same-sex marriage, bill in the making. And even if they don't call it the Same-Sex Marriage Act, no, we have the history of the UK to look at, to see really how easily, right? The Church of England held this for decades and decades, that they were beating on the door for same-sex marriage. Church of England conceded and said, okay, civil partnerships is okay. As long as you don't use the word marriage, we're all good. And then 9 years down the line, because it was marriage in all but a name, it was found to be discriminatory in the Same-Sex Marriage Act. And I'm giving this to you in the crux of the thing. The Same-Sex Marriage Act was introduced. Now, we have some sort of assurance perhaps false security in the wording of the Constitution, because what I have been looking at is trying to find this discrimination point in the Constitution. And what I see is this: if in England, which has an uncodified Constitution, you were able to prove discrimination via the Partnership Act to bring in the Marriage Act, how then can it affect our codified Constitution? And remember, the argument has already been put out there that we are under England and that we have precedent by the courts in England and so on and so forth. So how at risk is our Section 14 in our Constitution? We need to discuss this. And we need to discuss it as a country. And we need to discuss it in our backyards and in the front yards. And we need to discuss it if you can get together at bars with no limitation how many people can be at a table. You can certainly discuss it inside of a town hall. Because the people inside the town hall, we have to be sober with their masks up over their face and probably not spitting into the air because they're likely to be sober, right? But we need to have these discussions. Also, I don't see how, if we are at the 10th day of July, how we can look at the 26th day of July and consider it as a deadline for submission if the discussions have not been held. How quickly? How many discussions you're planning to have? You have 16 days, which includes weekends. You have 19 elected representatives. How many can come in and speak to their constituents every day on the radio and give their constituents 2 hours per day, right? So that the rest of their constituents can hear what they have to say. I'm just looking at that as one angle, one way of trying to educate the country and to discuss it as a nation together. You have 16 days, including weekends. Radio Command doesn't operate talk today on the weekend. But you have 19 elected representatives. How are you planning to have this public consultation? Because it has to be held.
Yeah, but let me then ask then, right? I mean, and maybe we'll revisit the conversation, perhaps not just for academic purposes, but given that the government bringing this bill, obviously it's the bill that they want to pass into the law. They have the requisite numbers to pass the legislation. So any input from the electorate, any input from the other elected members would really just be academic if the government chooses to press forward with enacting the law as the bill now, as the clause is drafted, including Section 48.
You know, even if they have somehow behind the scenes all agree, we're going to vote unanimous on this bill, and they come out and they have the discussion with the public, at least they would have got to hear where the public conscience is, and whether or not passing the bill is going to affront the public conscience. It may change their mind. What if they have all said, no, we're not going to vote for the bill, and then they have the public consultations and they hear that the whole entire nation is very compassionate towards the situation and willing to concede? It may change their mind, right? But whichever way that they go in and vote. One thing has happened. They have given their word one way or the other, and the country has spoken one way or the other. Somewhere or another day in there is a majority.
And in future discussions, maybe God's willing, given as you said, you know, we are at the 10th, and then we got the 26th, so in this fields, and maybe people don't recognize it. Maybe in our subsequent discussion, God's willing, perhaps next week, as part of this civics and public education, we could ask the question for those people who want to enter into the same-sex unions, should they not have the same right of inheritance, consent with respect to health care, the things that a married man and a married woman enjoy in the union of marriage? Should they not have those same rights? And if so, can they achieve them in and under another provision? So maybe, Ms. Coutinho, with that, perhaps we can have that discussion next week. Thank you for coming on, and it's been a bit disjointed, somewhat rushed. It's an involved conversation. So next week, we'll agree as part of our civics education, have that. Well, it's 2:32 according to my watch, Ms. Coutinho, so Ms. Susan has given us another 2 minutes and maybe change. So enjoy your weekend. Yep. All right, so listeners, please grab a copy of the bill. It's online somewhere, you'll find it. It's 50 pages, 48 sections, but 48 sections and 18 little divided up parts. Not that difficult to read. Have a look at it this weekend. And on a Monday, join us for More Talk Today. It's our monthly mental health matters. And of course, join Mr. Art for the record. Until then, be blessed.
Talk Today is brought to you by Fidelity Bank. For all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Also brought to you by greenturtle.ky. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile, saving lives today.